Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 717 20th Street Southeast here in Salem. Located just to the left of the doorway, we have a 4-inch ABS cleanout as our point of access. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out here at the base of the cleanout, and off we go. And it looks like we're transitioning immediately upon access here over to PVC pipe, 4-inch diameter PVC. Just transition there over to 4-inch 3034 PVC. And we've reached the main here at 43 feet. Thus far, an immaculate sewer line. Super clean, great flow. We'll get a better look at everything once we back the camera out when the line's fully drained. But the line is so clean, the water's not even obscuring my view. I don't think we're going to find a thing. So we're going to pull back here in just a sec.
So true.
Just located the camera head there. The line basically does a dead straight shot, essentially anyway, out to 20th. Just runs in a straight line. Okay, so we've got this pipe joint here at about 26 feet, and if you look at the joint, basically the entire circumference of it is flush. It's just, I mean, you can hardly even call that offset. If it is, I mean, we're talking like 64/32 of an inch is essentially a flush joint. The significance of that is that on the right side there, that pipe joint is pushed inward. And when you're talking an offset joint, which is generally speaking related to a settling problem, a compaction issue, the joint doesn't generally do that. It becomes offset to itself. So you end up with a very consistent lip across the whole area. This, in this case, looks like the joint has been forced inward rather than offset. And there's not a lot of things that can accomplish that other than a root intrusion, something that's forcing its way through the pipe joint. And that's how this appears to be. You have very much some kind of stringy item that's pushed through there, or at the very least stuck in the joint and bent inward. It's not offset, it's been pushed, and that's just, there's not a lot of things that can accomplish that. The hard part here is it's been gunked over with enough stuff. It's a hard one to say with certainty, but all those things put together there, that has the appearance of a root. At the very least, you have a joint there that is to some extent compromised. So I have marked this, it's marked with a green X. It's in the kind of the gravel curb strip area. Because it's on that hard downward dive like that is kind of a tricky, you might even have something going on here at this joint too. You've got some stringy stuff coming out of it. Granted, those are small enough, they could be cobwebs that have been gunked over. That one there is a little bit harder to tell. That one looks like it could be cobwebs that got plastered to the side of the pipe and are just gunked over. This down here is a little bit different looking. Because of the hard dive we're on there, it's a hard spot to locate, so I'm going to kind of guesstimate this slightly. Okay, so I had to pull back here into the flat spot to get an idea. So just back about here, I'm about 3 foot 7 inches deep. That's prior to the fence line. So this is guesstimating somewhat. This is not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be fairly close. About 22 feet here. So we dropped down there about 4 feet. So guesstimation-wise, and this is not 100% perfect vertical fall, but it's darn close to it. That looks more like you're in about the 7.5 foot deep realm. It's probably going to cost more, but all right. So I just pushed out in the flat spot there. I've got a lot of overhead power lines that are messing with my locator here. So it looks like you're probably around the 7 foot deep realm. That's approximately marked with a green X. That marking is to be considered rough. Because of the hard vertical dive and the overhead power lines, I've got a lot of interference here. So if you do any digging to repair that, I would recommend relocating before you do any of that to double check everything. You got some weird stuff here affecting the locator. First and foremost, I would look into doing an epoxy liner on that. Before messing around with digging, I would price it out and see which is more cost effective. But you've got enough slope. All your slope and grade is still there. That should be a good candidate for a liner. If it doesn't cost much more, realistically, I would start the liner back here just to be on the safe side. That might add a couple $100 onto the repair, but that's going to ensure that you've sealed up that first joint, which has the potential to be the very beginning of a root intrusion there. If no repairs are done, I would rescope the line about 9 months to a year from now to check for growth, see how that's looking. And if it does get repaired, you want to rescope to check the work. You either want to, check after the liner is cured, and/or if it's dug, you want to do your liner after the trench is closed to make sure you don't have any settling issues that occur. As we sit here today, we have good flow all the way out, super clean line, and it is functioning properly out this time. But I'm recommending that repair there so the line remains that way. Either way, whether there's a root there or not, you have a joint that has the potential to be open to the ground there. It's torqued enough that my concern is that either way you have a joint that could progressively lead to stuff, especially if it opens up and allows groundwater and dirt to seep through it. Anyway, rest of the line there looks great. So at this time, line is functioning properly. That may change though in time if that issue there is not corrected at 26 feet.